Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Checkered Nation. I'm Mark.
And my name is William.
And we are here at Weave, and we are going to be interviewing Margaux, and she is the Director of Programs here at Weave, and she is also a family and marriage therapist.
And most of us probably never heard of Weave. It's actually spelled as W-E-A-V-E. And I don't know what it stands for, but Margaux's going to explain that to us. But we're excited to have Margaux here because in our community, in our Sacramento community, Weave plays a big role in Sacramento. So Margaux, can you explain to us what Weave stands for and what it's about?
Sure. Well, when we started over 30 years ago, Weave stood for Women Escaping a Violent Environment. But we've actually changed that title just to Weave because we also serve men and we serve children, so we didn't want people to think that we only serve women here. And we're also Sacramento's rape crisis center, as well as domestic violence counseling center, shelter, legal services, many different services for domestic violence. So we encompass both of those services here.
Wow, that's a big scope.
It is.
So I hear a lot about fundraising for AIDS and HIV, homeless shelter, but we don't hear a lot about Weave fundraising. Where do you guys get your fundings, and what can we do in our community to be involved?
Well, we have over half of our budget provided by the Sacramento community, and so that's private people, businesses, etc. And then the other half is through government sources, federal, state, county funding. And as you know, those are very tight right now, so that we're looking at needing more support from our community in that way.
Right. You know something, Margaux? I wanted to ask you too, what are the different types of abuse that actually go on in the different types of gay relationships?
Well, at Weave, we address 5 different types of abuse. And we know that whether a relationship is gay or straight, that those 5 types occur. And so a lot of people, when they think of domestic violence, they think of just physical violence. But very often there's a whole emotional component that goes along with that. And then we also deal with sexual abuse, financial abuse, and spiritual abuse. And very often all those types of abuse come together, and that creates a whole dynamic that keeps a victim stuck in the relationship.
Because most of us never thought about, in the gay community, most of us never thought about that we can be a victim of abusive relationship, and for that, how do one recognize that they're in an abusive relationship, regardless, like you said, hetero or homo?
A lot of times people will realize they're in an abusive relationship when they start feeling very uncomfortable or scared, when they notice that their behaviors are changing to appease their partner. And of course, if there's ever any physical violence, that's kind of an easy thing to identify, but there are more covert ways that people abuse one another, and it can be something like name calling, manipulating, isolating, those kind of behaviors, or threatening behaviors. And so there's discomfort in the relationship and it's not feeling loving, but the opposite, then there's most likely they're being abused.
Wow. Tell me this, Margaux. Now, the different types of abuse that she just described, are they similar to what straight people go through? Is it pretty much the same types of abuse, or are the abuse different since you're dealing with 2 people of the same sex?
Those 5 types happen in both types of relationships, but there are some differences in homosexual relationships in that, like, the emotional abuse can take on more aspects that have to do around that relationship being gay. For instance, somebody could threaten to out their partner if they're not out, and that could be different and be held over them. And if there's an HIV status, I mean, that can also be used against a partner. So there are those dynamics that are not necessarily present in a straight relationship.
Okay.
So in the clients that you see day-to-day basis, what are the percentage of people from the gay community versus from the heterosexual relationship?
No, I haven't seen any specific statistics on exactly how many clients that we serve from one or the other, but I know from my own experience, I would say that probably 10%, 10 to 20% are from gay relationships that we see here.
Tell me this. It's like I've actually did some research online when I found out that we were granted the interview last week. Is it true that gay men are less likely to seek the services of Weave because of their sexual orientation, or they're afraid that they're going to feed into the myth that straight people already have about two people of the same sex being together? Do you think that might keep gay men from seeking help?
I definitely do. I think there are a lot of barriers for gay men. I mean, we make it very welcoming here, and we consider ourselves a safe zone. We've done a lot of training in the area of the LGBT population so that we can serve that population to the best of our ability.
Okay.
But I think it's challenging for any man to step into a domestic violence agency anyway, because most victims are women. However, we've done everything we can to make it more comfortable here, but then gay men also have the added barrier of that stigma that could happen, or feeling like somebody in their community might find out and things like that. And I think that most of the gay men that we have served have found it very helpful to them once they get through those fears and concerns, and we can address them here. But I think that just getting the initial step through the door can be really difficult.
Yeah, it's recognizing is the most important. And we're going to take a little mini break, and then when we come back, we're going to explore more Weave.
Thank you.